member of Busia. He trades in town here. He has decided to join me in this press conference. Mr. Mushere is a fraud auditor, an established Kenyan fraud auditor. He's the person I commissioned with this company to look at the books of Busia for the financial year 2022-2023. I mean 2022-2023. So I'll issue the press statement. Then I'll give you hard copies. And also the source documents that were used to prepare the report and the source documents that were used are available online, and the link is within this report statement. So the heading of the press statement is Systemic Financial Mismanagement and Abuse of Public Funds by the County Executive of Busia in the financial year 2022-2023. I am making this statement in the spirit of constitutionalism, anchored on the rule of law, transparency, and accountability, and in line with the right of the people of Busia County and Kenyans in general to know how their taxes were spent by the county executive in the 2022-2023 financial year. This exercise has been delayed because I was unable to access the documents I had requested from the governor. And those of you who remember this matter, we ended up in court. There was violence in Busia. A three-judge bench was appointed to see whether I could access those documents. And the case was transferred from Busia to Vihiga. And the case is still ongoing, whereby I'm trying to demand that I must get source documents of the county executive to be able to look at what they have done. So they denied me access to, among others, the IFMIS vote book, the IFMIS cash book, and the source documents such as procurement papers for specific projects where the county executive spent colossal amounts of money during the 2022-2023 financial year. The governor and his team insisted that I wait for the Auditor General to table in the Senate its audit report on the accounts of the county executive for the said financial year. The report of the Auditor General on the finances of the county executive of Busia for the financial year 2022-2023 was tabled in the Senate on 19th March 2024. On perusing the report, I was disgusted to note glaring gaps between the data the County Executive Committee member for Finance and Planning had presented to the Auditor General and the information on record in the documents prepared by the Control of Budget. So I took the Auditor General's bundle and I took the Control of Budget's bundle and I compared the data in it. And I noticed there were really heavy inconsistencies. I also noticed that the Auditor General had hardly interrogated the financial statements the County Executive Committee member of Finance and Planning had presented. The Auditor General did not interrogate and ferret out the glaring cases of creative accounting, budgeted corruption, and the misuse of the supplementary budget for improper motives and corrupt practices. The numbers don't add up. To make matters worse, contrary to Section 164 of the Public Finance Management Act, that's Cap 412A, the Auditor General, the audit report did not contain financial statements from the accounting officers of the various entities. The law requires that the Auditor General should display the accounts of each department within the ministry and also the consolidated accounts by the Minister of Finance in the county. What the report contained was just the consolidated accounts. So you cannot know from what basis that consolidation was done. That was the first glaring issue we noticed. So those glaring anomalies prompted me to raise a preliminary objection in November 2024 to stop the audit report being considered by the County Public Accounts Committee of the Senate, where I was a member. At that time I was a member of the CPAC. I halted the process, demanding that before the governor could be held to account on the report, Its author, the Auditor General, appears in person before the committee for me to interrogate her on the report. I wanted to pin the Auditor General down on what I consider incompetent auditing, collusion, and deliberate cover-up. But that has not happened to date. I've not had the opportunity to have Parliament summon the Auditor General so that she could sit across the table. We take her report, put on that table, project it on the screen, and do the maths inside that report. I've not had the opportunity to do that. Although my request in Parliament is now almost a year old. Having failed to get anywhere with the CPAC, and especially after I was removed to the National Cohesion and Integration Committee, I decided to commission an established fraud auditor. This is Mr. Bernard Mushere, who is here, CFE, to interrogate the following documents that, through self-help, I got hold of about the finances of the County Executive of Busia for the year 2022-2023. The documents were, 1, approved budget estimates for that year, 2022-2023, and medium-term expenditure framework, county budget review and outlook paper, financial year 2022-2023, the Busia County Citizens Budget, financial year 2022-2023, the Busia County Appropriation Act 2022, the Busia County Supplementary Appropriation Act 2023, Busia County Second Supplementary Citizens Budget, financial year 2022-2023, the Controller of Budgets report on county government's budgets implementation review report for the first half of the year 2022-2023. It came out in February 2023. The Controller of Budgets report on county government's budget implementation review for the financial year 2022-2023 that was released in September. The report of the Auditor General on the County Executive of Busia for the year ended 30th June 2023. The recurrent expenditure vote book status report for the period July 2022-2023, and the development expenditure vote book status report for the period 2022-2023. These documents and the fraud audit report are available online at https://drive.google.com/drive/1FV1Y00U FOITM NQLC 5QBD 10L-1ML-NR. That's the URL that opens those documents that have been used. The fraud audit exposes a shocking pattern of deliberate financial mismanagement, manipulation of budget systems, and large-scale siphoning of public funds by the County Executive of Busia during the year 2022-2023. A summary of the key findings of the fraud audit are given here below. I have summarized the report. So 1 is budget supplementation outside legal bounds. Yes, supplementary budgets are allowed, but they are strictly governed by law. So the County Executive of Busia initially presented a lawful budget of 7.2 billion Kenya shillings, which was fully financed by revenue estimates as required under Article 221A of the Constitution, read together with that Section 35(1)E of the Public Finance Management Act and Regulation 33E of the Public Finance Management Regulations. However, this budget was irregularly supplemented by a further 1.459 billion, increasing the total expenditure to 8.666 billion without corresponding revenue. They brought in a supplementary budget, expanding expenditure without showing where the money to finance the extra expenditure would come from. Under the law, that's Article 223 of the Constitution, and also Section 135 of the Public Finance Management Act and 39 of the Public Finance Management regulations, that's the legal notice number 35 of 2015, supplementary budget is only legal if it addresses unforeseen and unavoidable circumstances, or where there's no budgetary allocation, or unavoidable circumstances where existing budgetary allocations are inadequate. Those two conditions did not apply to justify Busia to have a supplementary budget. So there is no documented justification for the massive increase. This constitutes a direct circumvention of constitutional provisions facilitated through the manipulation of the Integrated Financial Management Information System, popularly known as IFMIS, exclusively undermining the rule of law and public trust. The second thing, you have seen the first one was budget supplementation outside legal bonds. Number two of the fraud report is that there was fraudulent financial practices. The budgetary manipulation through IFMIS, that's part A. You have seen there was a fictitious 1.459 billion that was illegally injected into the budget in violation of the law. So the county executive fraudulently inflated the budget by that amount of 1.459 billion, as you have seen through the supplementary and unlawful supplementation. Now, approximately 4.535 billion resulted in illegal adjustment, was misappropriated in illegal adjustments, which resulted in the budget being altered or being different from the original budget by 62.93%. Remember, the budget that goes to public participation is passed, is supposed to be implemented by the county assembly, the county executive. But in this case, that budget was changed by 62.93%, when the law only allows a change of up to 10%, and that's per item. But this one was changed across board by 62.93%, about 63%. So the budget that was implemented was a budget that was never passed by the people of Busia. Number two, there was a splitting over codes. If you go to the IFMI system, you get an item, the vote head remains the same, but the code, which the computer reads, is changed into various times, so resulting in multiple payments. From that alone, 85 million shillings was siphoned out through fraudulent splitting of IFMIS to create and pay for duplicate items. So an item like tea and snacks, the governor's office initially had 9 million shillings for the year. They paid it 5 times and ended up paying 27 million shillings. But they were just changing the code. They get an item, they change a code. If it was B, they put C. If it was D, they put A. If it was 1, they put 4. And because the computer cannot distinguish that, it ends up approving the various split payments. Number 3, we have got expenditure without budgetary allocation. 687 million was spent without legal authorization under the Appropriation Act. It's stressed nowhere in the budget. It's not approved in the budget. 687 million. Then there was creative accounting and concealment of funds. That's item number 3 is creative accounting and concealment of funds. Under that heading, we have got a subheading of the statement of receipts and payments. Kenya shillings 2.4 billion was concealed under that particular thing. That's what the fraud auditors have established. And among the money concealed is that the balance brought forward from the year 2021-2022 was concealed. The balance was 1.23 billion shillings. It was concealed in the Auditor General's report. Transfers from the County Revenue Fund of 583 million was concealed. Conditional grants of 251 million were concealed. Own source revenue of 201 million was concealed. And appropriation in aid of Kenya shillings 142 million was concealed. Then there was also a statement of assets and liabilities. The financial statement was understated by Kenya shillings 1.852 billion to conceal unutilized funds. Then we look at the cash flow. There was undisclosed inflows totaling 1.852 billion, which we have seen ahead, mirroring the concealment ahead. Disguised fraud through payroll and debt. So employee compensation, 926 million was siphoned under false compensation records. Then there were the pending bills. There's 1.17 billion purportedly paid under false pretenses. Bills carried forward, and 768 million was added, totaling to 1.94 billion in the suspicious expenditure. Then there were statutory deductions. They deducted 737 million from workers, which were supposed to be paid to KRA, LAP Fund, and LAP Trust, but they still disguised them as pending bills. So this money was taken from the salaries of employees. It was not remitted to the statutory remittances were not made, but was accounted for as a pending bill, 737 million. So the bottom line is that through systemic manipulation of IFMIS, fake records, illegal expenditures, fraudulent budget variations, and deliberate non-disclosure, the county executive of Busia cannot account for a whopping 5.249 billion meant for the provision of public goods and services in the 2022-2023 financial year. This is not only a betrayal of public trust, but also a grave economic injustice to the people of Busia. Public finance is not a personal purse. It's a collective wealth of the people. When leaders abuse their offices and siphon billions of shillings from public coffers through manipulation and lies, they rob children of classrooms, patients of medicine, and communities of development. So the audit report has several recommendations. Among them is that the governor and the CECM for Finance and Planning be held accountable for presenting falsified reports and mismanaging funds in violation of Article 201D and E of the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act, Section 196, 1, Clause 3. Accounting officers, the various accounting officers of the departments should face disciplinary action for manipulating the IFMIS and failing to submit financial statements in violation of Article 223 and 226 of the Constitution. The Public Finance Management Act, Section 135, 164, and the PFMR Regulation 39. The control of budget should be held accountable for authorizing illegal withdrawals in violation of Article 228.4 and 5 of the Constitution. And the Auditor General should be held accountable for professional negligence and failure to fulfill her audit mandate in violation of Article 229, Clauses 4 and 6 of the Constitution. The fraud audit reveals a deliberate, orchestrated scheme that exposed 5.2 billion shillings to fraud risk. The scope of mismanagement represents a serious breach of the Constitution and the fiduciary duty. Urgent institutional and legal action must be taken to ensure accountability and to prevent recurrence. Yours faithfully, Sen OMTATAH. I'm done with issued the statement.